Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. In my new series I started this year, The New World Order, and this is going to be 2010, Part 1, Media and Press Releases, and an interesting topic, controversial topic. The gay agenda. What's the right way to say that? The LBGT groups. I guess we'll get that better defined as I go along here. But they promote bisexuality, pansexuality, anything. Apparently they promote pedophilia with children. People have rights. People were born that way, maybe. And of course, gay marriage and the gay agenda. And even crazy things like don't say boy or girl in schools these days. They want bathrooms to be open to both sexes, no matter what sex they are. So what's behind all this? And I've been saying from my observations since I began my investigation on the topic, what the heck is going on in the world. That's how I started out. And I wanted to, of my technical background, worked 10 years at a major aerospace company. I originally just wanted to help maybe be part of the new energy, going green in America. Get away from gas and oil and nuclear power, etc., coal. So I thought as a scientist, investigator, I would buy old books, biographies of famous scientists, physicists, and see where they got their ideas and what they were thinking, because I don't trust the system today. The science is controlled science. Nothing gets out unless it's peer-reviewed. It's a very tight-knit little group. So I thought I would go through the back door and buy some old books. And wait, what did I find? I found that most of these famous people were psychic and having strange experiences in their youth. Generally speaking, 75% of the time, their parents were preachers or ministers or something like that. The other 25 plus or minus percent of the time, they got hit in the head, they fell out of a tree, got hit with a rock, and it altered the blood flow or something in the head to enable some kind of psychic ability. So that was an interesting discovery for me. So that's when I started studying psychic research, and that took me to the New Age, and that took me to the conspiracy theories, which apparently are not conspiracy theories, but conspiracy fact. And in this video, we'll probably be able to prove that. So we have this agenda behind the scenes. Everybody's heard the words, New World Order, New Age, gay marriage, gay agenda, and a lot of anti-Christianity feelings out there, promoted by the propaganda and the news media, which is owned by the elitist, who are trying to bring about a one global order. Not very nice people. Illuminati, Freemasons, and not all Freemasons. Zionist Jewish people, not all Jewish people. The Vatican, and of course not all Christians. There's a lot of bad people out there and a lot of good people out there. A lot of people that are being misled. So anyways, I thought I would go to my 2010 collection of media, press releases, and other documents that I printed out since 2004 and 5. The two things that kicked me off, one of course was 2001 with 911. That got a lot of people looking that direction going, what's going on? And then in 2005, on my birthday, one of those 0 birthdays, I went to Costa Rica Flew into San Jose, took a taxi out to Jaco Beach, sitting at a tiki bar one afternoon with a bunch of guys from all over the world. I was the only American. And they proceeded to tell me they felt sorry for we the people in the USA because we didn't know what was going on and what the people that controlled our country were doing. Of course, I said, you're crazy. I went back to Florida and I started investigating more than 10 years ago. And here I am today, 11 years later, almost approaching 500 videos on YouTube, many of them on the sky spraying documentary that I do on a weekly basis, photos or videos. When I'm out and about doing my job and I look up and I see sky spraying lines helter-skelter all over the sky, it takes 1 or 2 minutes and I shoot a video or a photograph and go about my business. And then once or twice a week, I'll download the pictures or videos, make a video, throw it on the internet. Doesn't take a lot of time. And my job is in sales, business consulting, things like that. So between clients, I have a lot of free time, and I read a lot of books, a couple hundred. But I promised myself I would read books for 10 years before I would consider myself a person who could speak with authority on the subject of what was going on in the world. And again, here I am now. So on some of the documents that I have printed out and collected for more than 10 years, I've cataloged them into several categories. One is Zionism, Judaism, Israel, etc. The whole thing going on over there in the Middle East. The other topic is the climate change, global warming, and other topics related to that, the HAARP systems, sky spraying, whatever. And the third one was the gay agenda, because here I am working, running my business, checking my emails, and you know they have little advertisements right there on the right-hand side or down below on the page. You can see what the headline is, and a lot of them were about gay marriage. And I remember in 2007 and 2008, I was going back and forth to Maine, driving my car, and I would listen to late-night talk radio shows, and 60-70% overwhelmingly were against gay marriage, according to the talk radio shows, driving through Washington, D.C., New York, Richmond, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, anywhere up and down the coast. So I'm thinking to myself, well, that's history. That's going nowhere. 70% against. Then the next year it was 60% against. And then the next year it was 50%, thereabouts. And then the next year it was 40%. And I was watching these press releases being pumped out, boom, boom, boom. And I had the opportunity to, my sister had some little children, and one day I was in the living room watching them watch the cartoons. And I heard little Nancy Bear screaming at Susie Bear, little cartoon characters, that she had to make up a decision who she was going to date, boys or girls. Because apparently last weekend she dated Tommy Bear, but this weekend she was going to go on a date with Nancy Bear. Anyway, Susie Bear said, I can choose whoever I want to go out with, male or female, in the cartoon language. And all the little children are sitting there in front of the TV, 7, 8, 9 years old. And they happened to see me watching them watch the TV. And I could tell they felt like they were caught with their hand in a cookie jar. They knew something was not right what those cartoon characters were saying to them. So they were mind controlling the children back then. When I was traveling from Florida to Maine, 2007, 2008, back and forth, 9, 10. So there was a premeditated program out there by these elitists trying to create the New World Order and New Age with the propaganda. We've all seen it. But unlike a lot of people, I clicked on those press releases, those titles, that said something like this one. Kids raised in lesbian families better adjusted, study finds. You can't make this stuff up. So, June 2010, a new study published by the journal Pediatrics has found that children of lesbian couples are better adjusted socially and academically than children from traditional families. I'm speechless, okay? The study followed 78 children conceived by sperm donors to lesbian couples over 20 years and monitored the children's well-being through a series of interviews and surveys that ended when the children turned 17. And I'm trying to just do a flash review of these documents as I stated when I began this series. But I hold the page up so you can write these keywords down, look them up, and print out the document if you are so inclined or concerned. So there's a start on that one. The press releases were relentless and endless. They just kept coming and coming all those years for 10 years. And I saw a pattern. All right, Kristen Cornaweth slams Newsweek over a homophobic article. Stars Twitter praise for actress stance. Sean Hayes, as well as other gay actors in entertainment, suggesting their portrayals of straight men are generally unbelievable. So they're saying here in this article that gay men can't portray straight men in acting. Setuli's larger point in this article, however you say his name, which was titled Straitjacket, was that an actor's background does affect how we see his or her performance. View of photos, gay and lesbian Hollywood, and we know the Hollywood are controlled generally by some Jewish cabal people who seem to be producing some real serious garbage, filth. Even the murder and killing in the movies these days is so over the top. Blood squirting out, close shots of the slight cutting off an arm or throat, just over the top. I don't think we humans should be subjected to those TV shows and videos. And of course, we can turn off the TV, which, by the way, I do. I've walked out of movies. Sudden Impact. I was in there 10 minutes before I got up and walked out. And so many other ones. So Chenoweth was angered by a host of Setuday's opinions in the article and penned an open letter to the magazine stumping for her co-star for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBT community. I was shocked on many levels to see how Newsweek, publishing Rami Stetudi's horrendously homophobic straitjacket, which argues that gay actors are simply unfit to play straight. So anyways, the stuff is just continuously poured out there in the news for people to consume. (2010). All right, 2010, April. Obama extends health care rights to gay partners. It's funny, during Obama's inaugural speech when he was re-elected, what was that his two priorities was the gay marriage issue and gay rights issue, of course, and gun control and removing guns from Americans. And recently with executive orders, I guess he's taking some moves, which to me has some very sinister purposes to bring about this new world order, new age. Basically a worldwide revolution where apparently a lot of Christians and other good people will be killed. Possibly even by the 30,000 guillotines the government has ordered, which, as I always say, do not believe me? Please go look it up. So Washington, in a move hailed as a step forward towards same-sex couples, 2010 now, President Barack Obama is ordering that nearly all hospitals allow patients to say who has visitation rights and who can help make medical decisions, including gay and lesbian partners. Personally, I don't have any things to say bad about people of having the right to say who can visit them in a hospital and who can help them make decisions. You don't have to be gay. Could be your best friend, another man, maybe your retirement age. Could be a friend who's a female. Obama embraces incremental response to gay agenda. Remember that term, incremental response. And that's what they've been doing with these cartoons, movies, newspapers, magazine articles. They just keep what they call educating the American people and the world's people, by the way. So way back in 2007 and 6 and 8, when a majority of Americans, according to talk radio shows, were opposed to the gay marriage issue and all the other gay agenda material. Most of us were normal people. I guess we all weren't born that way back then. But with a little education, anybody can be reborn, I guess. Mind controlled. President Barack Obama is chipping away at his long list of promises to gay voters who has yet to win the enthusiastic backing of the reliable Democratic voting bloc. So we know, a lot of people should know, that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are controlled by the same elitist families. The same banksters, same money. Make no mistake about that. But people are none the wiser. The Obama White House has accomplished more than any other on gay rights, yet has drawn sharp criticism from an unexpected constituency, the same gay activists who backed the president's election campaign. Instead of sweeping change gays and lesbians had sought, a piece-by-piece approach has been the administrative's favored strategy, drawing neither serious fire from conservatives nor lavish praise from activists. And that's how they do things. So the people never see it coming. It's just inch by inch, 1% at a time, gaining or re-educating the American people to the new social philosophy of decadency and perversion. I mean, as Christians and other good people around the world, being of the attitude of tolerance and understanding, compassion, the people weren't persecuting or prosecuting homosexuality or other activities. We just didn't want it flaunted in our faces, and maybe the people who had particular issues could get help. But that's changed to now an aggressive movement, and anybody who's a denier is called a hater and other things. All right, Fox on sex. Panda porn and how it can spice up your life. Panda porn. They're going to porn for bears. Panda bears. I tell you, just re-education. You don't think so? Watch the rest of this video. I had no idea until last night, but apparently they've been doing it a while. Scientists are showing porn to pandas. Because they're in captivity, the pandas haven't learned a thing about mating. So the scientists have decided to show them what they're missing. You can't imagine, I'm sure, where this is headed. It can be very hard to get in the mood when you're covered with spit up and knee-deep in laundry. Not to mention that your spouse, who has been getting the kids all wound up while you're trying to get them bathed and to bed, might not be your favorite person right at that moment, let alone someone whose bones you want to jump. These people at Fox News can write an article. So it's no wonder that people, too, have trouble mating in captivity. Statistics are hard to trust when it comes to all things sex. But there are enough magazine cover headlines. 10 ways to get your man in the mood, and books lining the help shelves. Bring back the fire to make me believe that there's trouble in River City. So I guess they think you need to get some porn to get your spouse in the mood. Hey, honey, come over here and take a look at this video with me. A little porn. The kids are not looking. All right, here's something called FF Gate, the San Francisco Chronicle. Gay and lesbian. SF Gates gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender resource for the San Francisco area. All right, Mexico City says sí to marriage. Capital becomes the first place in Latin America to legalize same-sex nuptials. So this, we can agree that this same-sex, pansexual, bisexual, transgender, pedophilia, all that stuff is a worldwide push. Coming out of the United Nations, which is controlled, if anybody doesn't know, by some sinister forces, i.e. Zionist Jewish folks, and other elitists from the Illuminati, high-level Freemasons, even the taken over Vatican, and other organizations vying for this New Age religion and trying to destroy Christianity. Donning no gay apparel. The Salvation Army's taken on anti-gay stance, but do we really boycott the red kettles? So the Salvation Army had taken an anti-gay stance. There's a new mayor in town. Shepley Suburban Campbell's City's Council elect one of the youngest gay and youngest Asian American mayors in the country. Reports on anti-gay religious hate crimes rise. Reports on hate crimes against gays and religious groups increased sharply in 2008, according to recently reported FBI data. LGBT headlines: same-sex marriage protesters stop traffic. White House appears torn on gay rights issue. Federal judge taking long look at Proposition 8. Asexuals leaving the closet find community. Gay couple rush to altar in Vermont. Energy 92.7 goes from gay-oriented to mainstream. Elton John can't adopt orphan. Ukraine decides. Legislators seek repeal for federal marriage law. 150,000 same-sex couples report being married. Same-sex marriage might be back on 10 ballot. So here I am back in 2010. This is January. And I see the stuff and I read it and I print it out. Alright, 3 weeks after gay marriage law, New Hampshire takes up repeal. So obviously appeals and repeals and all that stuff cost a lot of money. 3 weeks after the state legalized gay marriage, opponents are asking a House committee to repeal the law and let voters amend the Constitution to define marriage as between a man and a woman. And they won't let voters do it because the majority of the voters will vote no. So they use these corruptible judges. Here's something interesting. Back in 2010, this sexual marketing thing, as we all know for commercials, even tires, they always use a sexy female. Sex, sex, sex. Sometimes it just becomes a little bit obvious that they're messing with our minds. Bear lifts are completely strapless and will lift up your breast while ensuring a naturally perky look in virtually any outfit. With bear lifts, you can lift up your breast and realign your self to a higher position, even if you are larger than a D cup. Can't make this stuff up. Pause it, read it yourself. Get that natural perky look. This crazy stuff over the years. I'm on the internet minding my business. I'm not looking for this stuff. It's headlines, news. Gay wedding began again as federal judge overturns California's gay marriage ban in San Francisco. Cantor Julia Eisenberg marries Amber Weiss and Sharon Papo in front of a crowd. Well, it looks like she's pregnant being married here. Celebrating a federal judge ruling overturning California's gay marriage ban. Latida. So these two girls are getting married, and one of them is seriously pregnant by this photo. Back in 2010. So I guess that was one of those artificial insemination programs. Or maybe one day she just had a falling out and decided to let herself go on a date with a man. Pope defends family as Spanish gays hold kiss-in. Barcelona, Spain. Pope Benedict XVI strongly defended traditional families and the rights of the unborn Sunday, directly attacking Spanish laws that allow gay marriage, fast-track divorce, and easier abortions, as he dedicated Barcelona's iconic basilica, the Sagrada Familia. As he headed to the basilica, about 200 gays and lesbians staged a kiss-in to protest his visit and church policies that consider homosexual acts intrinsically disorder. Later, a few hundred women marched to protest their second-class status in the church and the Vatican's opposition to birth controls. So is there a larger purpose to all this? A hidden purpose to all this? Here's another one here. A federal judge in Southern California has declared the U.S. military's ban on openly gay service members unconstitutional. The U.S. District Judge Virginia Phillips on Thursday granted a request for an injunction halting the government's don't ask, don't tell policy for gays in the military. So here's a judge interfering with the military's rules. I thought judges were supposed to interpret the law, not make the law. Montana GOP policy. Make homosexuality illegal. At a time when gays are gaining victories across the country, the Republican Party in Montana still wants to make homosexuality illegal. 9/2010. It's going to get more interesting. All right, so then we got a bunch of pages of people's comments here. if you are a queer, according to this Mike, then you don't reproduce offspring, so you shouldn't have any kind of opinion on the future. I think GOP candidates should be illegal. They don't understand the real world. Religious faith is ignorance. Why would any caring parent subject their children to this type of debilitating superstition? So they'd like you to believe the 10 Commandments from God are superstitions. Follow Aleister Crowley, do as thou wilt. And the second law, refer to law number 1, do as thou wilt. Known as the evilest man alive, and his bragging about so many escapades, sacrificing, killing, and sex with children, apparently, according to my research. Known as the evilest man alive for those things. Another smiley here says, this is almost as crazy as the administration going against 73% of the nation's wishes. And a majority of Americans are against this perversion. And they've had to use mind control. Cartoons, movies, TV programs, and everything to slowly gain the public opinion in the polls. U.S. gay rights group has letters from Mormon leader, for Mormon leader, 10/2010. Salt Lake City, national gay rights activists say they're collected more than 150,000 letters asking a senior Mormon church leader to recant recent anti-gay statements. So I've been paying attention to this subject over the years. We can't deny, as you will see. You can look up these documents if you don't believe me or need more information. Mississippi school prom off after lesbian's date request. A northern Mississippi school district will now be hosting a high school prom this spring after a lesbian student sought to attend with her girlfriend and wear a tuxedo. The Itawamba County School District's board decided Wednesday to drop the prom because of what it called recent distractions, but without specifically mentioning the girl's request, which was backed by the American Civil Liberties Movement Union. So you can see these are just samples of the press releases I ran across. Alright, thought we'd just look at a couple books for a moment. Knowing that, as I said earlier in this video, I started my investigation around 2005. And I have been consistently doing it every week, every month, every day since. Read hundreds of books, printed out thousands of press releases, as I've shown in these videos, and we'll see them again today. Hundreds of magazines, watched thousands of videos. Anyways, one book, which I have not read at all yet, but it's mentioned in a lot of videos by other researchers and people. The Franklin Cover-Up, Child Abuse, Satanism, and Murder in Nebraska, John W. DeCamp. So what I'm trying to say is, here's this picture. There is something tied with the child abuse, Satanism, and of course gay agenda, marriage agenda, pedophilia, transgenderism, and I'm convinced also has something to do with probably the Illuminati and the gray aliens and reptilian so-called aliens who are androgynous. And if you see pictures of the devil or these other demons, they're androgynous, both sexes. So something weird going on here. The Franklin Cover-Up, the shutdown of Omaha's, Nebraska's Franklin Community Federal Credit Union, raided by federal agencies in November 1988, sent shockwaves all the way to Washington, D.C. $40 million was missing. The credit union's manager, Republican Party activist Lawrence Larry King Jr., behind whose rise to fame and riches stood powerful figures in Nebraska's politics and business and in the nation's capital. So what I'm saying is all these leaders coming from the lodges of the Freemasons and other secret mystery school of Babylon, witchcraft is what I call it for short. Rosicrucian, Council of Foreign Relations, Skull and Bones, whatever. Hollywood, Kabbalah people, occult. They're the ones who get put in high places of positions of power all over the country because they are these devious, evil people, and they'll do what they're told. But apparently high up on the list of their activities is sacrificing people and sex slaves, child porn, and all that stuff. Crazy. I know. But it's part of their religion. If we remember that, if we remember anything, remember that. It's part of their religion. And hence we can see why they want to destroy Christianity. What looked like a financial swindle soon exploded into a hideous tale of drugs, Iran-Contra money laundering, and nationwide child abuse ring and ritual murder. I'm not making this stuff up. Ritual murder. What is ritual murder? Sacrificing people to some kind of demonic god. You can pause your computer and read that yourself. The Franklin cover-up. Go get the book. I don't make any money off this. And the New Age religion. Something else they're promoting. Shamanism. Archaic techniques on ecstasy. Can't make this up. Archaic techniques on ecstasy. Look on the bottom there. Shamanism. So you're going to find out what this sex stuff is all about. Pleasing the devil and defying God. Seems to be the theme. You can't make it up. Not being a preacher, you can see what it says here, and you're going to see some more. Shamanism is preemptively a religious phenomenon of Siberia and Central Asia. Throughout this vast area, a magico-religious life of society enters on the figure of the shaman. At once magician and medicine man, healer and miracle doer, psychopompt, priest, mystic, and poet. The same phenomena and techniques occurred elsewhere in Asia and Oceania, in the Americas, and among the ancient Indo-European peoples. The Seeker's Handbook, the complete guide to spiritual pathfinding. So they're trying to destroy Christianity, which has 10 commandments. Don't kill, don't steal, no adultery, don't covet, don't bear false witness, one God, no idols, don't worship any idols, obey the Sabbath, don't blaspheme God, and honor thy mother and father. Not very difficult commandments. So what is this New Age? The Seeker's Handbook, the complete guide to spiritual pathfinding. With, if you look at the top of this, Adam and Eve, a snake on the tree, and a woman's bare-breasted body. Looks like Cleopatra and snakes on the bottom. From shamanism to Sufism, from Gnosticism to Geodof, the Seeker's Handbook is an invaluable reference for anyone seeking enlightenment. I'll be reading these books and making future videos. Closer to the light, learning from the near-death experiences of children. So a lot of people don't believe we have souls. Amazing revelation of what it feels like to die. Melbourne Morse, MD, with Paul Perry. Forward by Raymond A. Moody, MD, author of Life After Life. So I do believe when we die, our spirit goes somewhere. We are probably judged. Some people wind up, according to my research and reading many thick, voluminous books on psychic research, people who were contacted on the other side, good people reported that, wow, we really love it here. And people known for being bad people who were contacted, wherever they wound up, they said, man, it's horrible here. I hate it. The Psychic Research Society of Europe. I've gone over those books on these videos, on my Freemasonry and Satanism series, and we'll go over them again and again. Closer to the light. And one of the reasons I'm showing these books is I mention stuff in videos, and I don't want people just to believe me. And we went over these books in my Freemasonry and Satanism series book reviews. You can look that up. Freemasonry and Satanism, book review. I'm up to number 81. I guess the next one will be 82. Hundreds of hours of book reviews, reading books like these books. And the Palladian aliens go into great detail on sexual ecstasy and the Kundalini and all this to ascend to a higher level of consciousness. Sex, sex, sex. I kid you not. I've gone over these in the videos and read them. See if I can find a short little paragraph here. The Tibetans, basically up until the 1950s, diligently maintained an energy doorway. Over the hundreds of years, they have acted as guardians and emissaries for those who ventured through. Planted artifacts can purposely divert you from understanding the identities of invisible rulers that you perhaps call gods. Well, as Jesus called them, unclean spirits or demons, entities possessing people, casting out the demons many times in the Bible. Here we go on page 111. This serpent is your Kundalini, your passion. The force through which you can feel connected and can create. Claim your inheritance and be uplifted. Now go into the belly of this serpent. This serpent is the mother goddess. It says it right here. This serpent is the mother goddess. I'll show you both pages. On the bottom, last sentence. This serpent, on the top here, mother goddess. The serpent is the mother goddess. I read this when I went over this book review. I'll read it now. Now picture an opening to a dark and mysterious cave at the base of your spine. The only thing I can think of as a dark and mysterious cave at the base of my spine would be when I go to the toilet. With courage, step forward and feel yourself walking deeper and deeper into the cave. Knowing as you proceed that it is the home of the grand serpent. Well, enough of that. So I guess the grand serpent is up my back end. A few more books and we'll get back to the documents. Letters on Occult Meditation. Alice Bailey. I'm not going to read this. I've gone over it in previous videos and probably reference it again. But dedicated to the Tibetan teacher. But what I find really interesting about this one is the publisher is Lucas Publishing Company. Lucas means light. And if you look up Lucas Publishing on Wikipedia, it was originally named Lucifer, the Devil Publishing. Here's some dragons I showed in a previous video. I took this picture back then. That are on a building in downtown Asheville. What's with the dragon? I'll read one little bit from this book. Letters on Occult Meditation. I'm just randomly opening this up. As may be imagined, the calling of either the divas or the elementals, I guess these are some kind of beings in the ether, the air around us, can only be safely undertaken by one who has the power to utilize them wisely when called. Remember, the Freemasons and other elitist groups, the Illuminati, are trying to rebuild King Solomon's temple. And King Solomon had a magic ring with a six-pointed star, like on the Israeli flag, to call forth demons, and that's how he got his power. And these are the people ruling our world who want to rebuild that temple, who caused 9/11 so they could go into the Middle East and overthrow all the countries, kill the Arabs and natives, and the rest of them they're shipping to the EU and the United States in the middle of the night. What's going on? Hence the mantrams we have enumerated above are only put into the hands of those who are on the side of the constructed forces of the system and who can constructively control the destructive elements, bringing them into line with the disintegrating forces that are themselves part of the great constructive scheme. Interesting books I've read over the years about this New Age stuff. There's a little pyramid on the bottom. So let's keep on going. The cosmic serpent. You can't make this stuff up. DNA, eugenics, cloning, Monsanto, genetically modified foods. The cosmic serpent. What are they trying to create? A new super race? Wasn't Hitler into that? The reappearance of the Christ. Christ means anointed one. Notice it doesn't say Jesus there. But again, we have Lucas Publishing Company. And as I've shown before, it looks like somebody put a little cross in blood on this thing. There says Lucas Publishing Company. Formerly, Lucifer Trust. Anyways, Alice Bailey was the one who succeeded Helena Blavatsky, the originator of the Theosophist Society, New Age material, where she spent a lot of years in India, in that area around the Tibetan mountains, and learning this new religion that she brought to the world with the planned destruction of Christianity. With the who's in charge is always the question, but the Talmudic, Kabbalah, Jewish folks, Zionism, with the Jesuits of the Vatican or the Theosophist Society, witchcraft movements. It's always that debate. Who's the coming of the cosmic Christ? There's another one. The other one was the reappearance of the Christ. So what I'm trying to say, there's something more to this gay agenda. Pedophilia, bisexuality, pansexuality. Hunt Kundalini, the energy coming up to the spine. And apparently the serpent is in your tailbone somewhere, in a dark cave. Some of this stuff you can't make up. This passionate book brings harvest and hope. A brilliant and inspirational synthesis. A message of hope. Hope of the mystic in us. The cosmic Christ incarnated in each one of us. This is the New Age philosophy. A lot of effort's gone to get this material out there. All right, a little more, we'll move on. Messages from the Maitreya, the Christ. I think the Maitreya was the ancient Roman religion. Benjamin Cream. Good evening, my dear friends. Page 14. Once again, I have the pleasure of speaking to you in this way. Very little time indeed now separates me from you. In full vision, mankind will see me very soon. So they don't want people to believe in Christianity and Jesus. But Maitreya? The reappearance of the Christ and the masters of wisdom. Benjamin Cream. Is this a guy who would call himself God or something? If you are a Buddhist, you might pray to Buddha to intercede for you. But we Christians, why not pray to Christ? Indeed, why not? To whoever is the focus for you, but Christ is not God. He is not coming as God. He is an embodiment of the aspect of God, the love aspect of God. He is the embodiment soul of all creation. He embodies the energy which is the consciousness aspect of that being we call God. Don't be caught up in this New Age material trying to tell you that you're God. John Mulholland, Beware of Familiar Spirits, an investigation into the occult and the psychic phenomenon. Plenty of books out there. I read these books. Let John Mulholland, one of the world's greatest magicians, be your guide into the supernatural. In this survey of mediumistic phenomenon, ranging from poltergeist phenomenon to teleportation and materializations, he covers the wonders of the Fox sisters, the Davenport brothers, the inexplicable levitations of D.D. Home, the manifestations of Palladino, the investigations of Crooks and Lodge, the strange phenomenon of the 20th century. A new introduction by Marvin Gardner points out the reverence of Mulholland's book for today. Books like this I highly recommend you read. I believe we are spiritual beings in these biological bodies. When I did that book review on the Gospel of St. Mark, Jesus is walking into town, and this man was crazed and hunched over, and everybody thought he was a lunatic. But when he looked up and he looked down the path, and there was Jesus walking, he arched up his body and he said, "What are you doing here?" And Jesus says, "Out of him, unclean spirit," and the man returned to normal. So number one, how did the guy know that Jesus was Jesus when everybody else saw him as a regular man? Because the possessed spirit could see the spirit of Jesus. And how did Jesus know there was an unclean spirit and cast him out? Which he did over a dozen times in the Bible. And prophesied things that would happen in the future. Manifested food and all that. So nothing is so strange here when we read these other books. We are a people of spiritual origin. That's where we came from. And then Helena Blavatsky's book, The Secret Doctrine. I need to read this thoroughly and make a book review on it. I've got some tabs in here. I've gone over some of this material. Page 395. Just open this up on my little marker here. Amanius Marcinius teaches that ancient divinations were always accomplished with the help of the spirits of the elements. Would that be ghosts, some kind of entities in the ether? By the 12 stones called the mysteries of the elements, but also in Solomon's temple. There we go, tying it to Jerusalem and all this chaos and anarchy going in the Middle East, trying to kill off all the Palestinians. And as pointed out by various writers in several old Italian churches, even at Notre Dame de Paris, where they can be seen to today. No symbol, the sun included, was more complex in its manifold meanings than the lunar symbol. Here we go. The sex was, of course, dual. With some it was male, the Hindu, King Soma, and with the Shkaladia, Sin, and with other nations it was female, the beautiful goddess. So we're talking the sex was dual, androgynous, and then they're trying to promote the gay agenda and destroy Christianity. So with that said, you might find this interesting. Communism and the Catholic Church. The phone ringeth. So you might think this is a whole convoluted conversation, but it's not. So communism and the Catholic Church. All right, notice the Illuminati pyramid, the symbol of the New World Order, and the totalitarian goddess, communist police state. So, you know, and I read these things, they're written by a bunch of people, and I go over a lot of books. Even Aleister Crowley's The Book of the Law, The Evilest Man Alive, were Do As Thou Wilt, and the second law is referred to number 1, Do As Thou Wilt. And he drew a picture of Hiawas, the entity who was his master, interdimensional ghost being, whatever. And it looked like a gray alien, as I've gone over in previous videos. So please go look up Aleister Crowley on the internet. Look up Hiawas, the creature. You'll see his drawings. Look up gray aliens. You'll see they're one and the same. Is why I mentioned earlier, there's something more to this New Age, New World Order movement that includes this crazy New Age religion from the Tibetan area and other parts of the world, including the shamans and all that, throughout history, with the snake as its figurehead, and the symbol for Judaism is, the Jewish people, is the snake. You can go on Zionism and images on the Yahoo search and see that, as I've shown many times over. The common denominators are here. So, the pyramid, of course, is the symbol for the New World Order. Like on the dollar bill, it says New World Order, and there is a pyramid. The totalitarian goddess, the communist police state, all of the Jewish origin, the Zionist Jews, who are the banksters, Illuminati, and whom I believe were responsible for all those places, prisons in Germany and Poland. A lot of people don't know that. But those people that were killed were mostly done in Poland. They didn't want it done on the German soil. But anyways, they were probably the good Jews, the Orthodox, who are not a party to this one world New Age religion. As I've said many times, Rabbi Marvin Antelman, the rabbi for the Jewish Congress of the United States, pretty high guy, to eliminate the opate, Volume 2, and to eliminate the opate, Volume 1, opate means to believe in God. They don't want you to believe in God. They don't want you to pray to God. They don't want you to obey God's commandments, because they fear that. Even when that being that Jesus said out of him in St. Mark, the Gospel of St. Mark in the Bible, told the clean spirit to leave the man, he did. He obeyed Jesus' command. Jesus is of God. So why does this rabbi say that these Frankish, Sabbat, and all these evil Jewish folks want to destroy people's belief in God and prayer. They fear it. So the Kabbalah is in here. Communist revolution. The Frankist Sabbatan mysticism, or the Red Kabbalah, was a very important factor in the Communist Revolution of 1848 and the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. So all these things I've been saying in all these videos, I've got the material, I can back it up. The Jewish Sabbatan Frankist, evil Jews, not the good Jews, and there's a distinction, quite clear. The Orthodox Jews stuck with the Bible and God's commandments. Remember, Moses went up the mountain to get the commandments. He came down, and the Jews that were down, the Hebrews, had collected the gold, built the golden calf, and were worshiping it, practicing the religion of the ancient Egyptians, of where they had just been freed from. Moses got so angry, he smashed the tablets, punished the people, and had to go back up to the mountain for 40 days to get 2 new tablets. So the people that are the Reformed Jews, I like how they use these words, which means they adopted a new religion, are not the same as the Orthodox Jews, the good Jews. The Reformed Jews didn't like the commandments, so they made up their own commandments and basically followed the law of one. Lucifer, the devil, Lucas Trust, Lucifer Publishing Company, in these books of the New Age books. Can I make it any clearer? And if I can't, go buy this book, The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow by Constance Coombe. Let her point out that all these organizations all over the world are working in cahoots. And look what it says on the back here. The Christ is now here. All these books, how will we recognize him? Who is the Christ? What is he saying? When will we see him? So supposedly we're going to have an Antichrist come before Jesus comes back, according to the Christian religion, Jesus. In the meantime, we have these Antichrist people running our world who are behind the New Age gay agenda, the whole point of this thing. There's a huge organization. It emanates from the United Nations with an occult meditation room that goes with the Rainbow Coalition or agenda or religion and New Age. And it is not about the 10 Commandments of God. It's basically, you are God and you can do whatever you want, including pedophilia with children, child abuse, abduction, rape, and murder. I know this sounds a bit harsh, but back to the document. Communists disguising themselves as loyalists to the organization they sought to undermine. They had congressional hearings back in the early 1900s where communist people admitted that they were sent into the Christian organization, Catholic Church, to undermine the organization. They could destroy it from within. So a lot of people have opinions out there. And they don't realize that they've been brainwashed and lied to and deceived. Once gaining entry, they would gradually and subtly change the values and principles of the targeted organization. The process of change, Obama keeps saying change, can take a generation. They got plenty of time. That's what a lot of people don't see. They don't understand that these forces to try to take over the world don't mind doing it over a couple hundred years. It's like a frog. If you throw a frog into boiling water, he's going to leap out. If you throw a frog into some cool water, he's going to just float around. And if you turn the burner up until it boils, he'll just cook. He'll never see it coming. And the same thing with we people. You know, Rabbi Marvin Edelman, a Jewish guy here, is writing a book describing, these are the people, these evil Jews, not Rabbi Marvin Edelman, but the ones he talks about. They even invented orgies and group sex, wife swapping. And when I found out that Gingrich got divorced because his, I guess he wanted his wife to go to a wife swapping party. I said to myself, oh my gosh, that's what this guy says. And that Gingrich's, and I didn't know this, I said Gingrich's name must be 666. Because like Monsanto making these genetically modified foods, it does equal 666 in a numerology calculator. Eric Schmidt of Google, the CEO, equals 666 in a numerology calculator. So anyways, for some reason, instinctively, intuitively, maybe I'm a little psychic, but I knew Gingrich was 666. And I couldn't do it. I did Newt Gingrich, Newton Gingrich, all variations. And I got frustrated, and I said, something's wrong. And I went to Wikipedia, looked up Gingrich, and his last name was McPherson. I plugged that into the 666 calculator. It was 666. What's the chances of this? So the process of change can take a generation. Communists have exhibited unlimited patience and supreme confidence in the ultimate attainment of their goals. Remember, the communists are the Bolshevik Jewish folks. And in Revelation 9 of the back of the Bible, it says, Jews who call themselves Jews but are not. And apparently these people are Khazars, or people from the northern region. They're white, by the way. And Jesus wasn't probably white. He was born in Bethlehem, an Arab. He was probably brown. And when he had to leave the area, because the king... There goes that phone again. So anyways, when Jesus had to leave the Jerusalem area, because the king had ordered all newborn young children, under 2, I think, to be killed. Because somebody had prophesied that a new king was coming. So Jesus' mother and father fled to Egypt. Another place that wasn't white people, brown people, Arabs, and Middle Easterners. So who are these communists? The people who control the United Nations, part of the Zionist program, Council of Foreign Relations, Bilderberger groups, Illuminati groups, Freemasonry groups, into witchcraft, Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, control Hollywood, all the ugliness and perversion in the movies, control our politicians, control the banks, the CEOs, the Jesuits, Vatican, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus. I could go on here for hours trying to figure out the names of all these organizations. Mentioned in Constance Kuby's book, Beware of the Rainbow, that I just looked at. Just FYI who the communists are. They control the United Nations. They're the ones putting forth the gay agenda, transgenderism, bisexuality, and androgynous reality. Adultery, murder, rape, theft. Trying to microchip we the people, disarm the Americans with threats of economic collapse, terrorism, plagues, and so much more. Communism have exhibited unlimited patience and supreme confidence in the ultimate attainment of their goals. As I showed you in the coming of the cosmic Christ and all that, this is some kind of spiritual cosmic battle, in my opinion. And if you want to look at it a different way, it's basically God and the Ten Commandments against those who do not want to be part of the Ten Commandments and God, who want to do whatever they want to do. And biblically, I guess, Lucifer, the light bearer, the beautiful angel, and a third of the angels were kicked out of heaven because of this revolutionary attitude. So nothing is new under the sun. The only thing new under the sun is a lot of people are being beguiled, deceived, walking zombies, more concerned about the football game and a birthday party and their own personal well-being than caring about the millions and millions of people being murdered all over the world. People losing their homes. Long as it's not me, what do I care? Seems to be the philosophy. Examples in America include substantial inroads by communism into organized labor, academia, the legal profession, race relations, cultural institutions, and the government itself. Remember, these are documents that I looked up back in 2010. This one here, I think I just looked up today, because I knew that back then I had discovered that the communists had infiltrated the church. And for this video, I wanted to get something on that topic to go along with those documents. When planning to infiltrate, the communists probe for an institutional weakness to exploit, and in the case of the Catholic Church, perhaps they perceived the weakness to reside in the all-male celibate priesthood. Did communists send their followers, particularly sexual deviants, and enablers, into seminaries to become priests in order to foster a homosexual culture within the church? Homosexuals practicing their derelictions in an overwhelmingly conservative Catholic community, while giving protection by well-placed minded superiors, could certainly contribute to the undermining of the faith of Catholics, and could unquestionably shake the credibility and moral standing of the church itself down to its very foundations. I just looked at all those books, those New Age books. And in the Freemasonic literature I've been going over in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism, book review, there are many instances of evidence that the Masons and the Mystery School of Babylon, other societies and temples and lodges, want to destroy Christianity. Undermining Catholic authority has been a clear and often stated goal of the communist left. Two former communists, Bella Dodd and Manning Johnson, spoke on communist infiltration of the Catholic Church. Dodd, an important Communist Party lawyer, teacher, and activist, converted to Catholicism in April 1952 under the tutelage of Bishop Fulton Sheen, stating that the communist infiltration was so extensive that in the future you will not recognize the Catholic Church. He said that in 1952. And this is the future. And everybody out there hates the Catholic Church. So I suppose these New Age communist people have accomplished their mission to deceive we the people. Dodd was asserted that, you can look this stuff up, in the 1930s we put 1,100 men into the priesthood in order to destroy the church from within. And FYI, I grew up Catholic, but I'm certainly not a fan of the Catholic Church today. I believe that Jesus was on this earth. I think he was preaching to treat others as you would want to be treated, supported the Ten Commandments, and made the priesthood of the Hebrew people, the Jews, jealous. According to their religion, they can't kill one of their own, so they had to have the Romans crucify him. And Pontius Pilate, the Roman leader, said, I don't want this on my head. And the Jews in the crowd screamed, let it be on our heads and on the heads of our children. Crazy. Look this stuff up, don't believe me. Manning Johnson, a former Communist Party official and author of Color, Communism, and Common Sense, testified in 1953 to the House of Un-American Activities Committee regarding the infiltration of the Catholic Church. Once the tactic of infiltration of religious organizations was set by the Kremlin, remember Russia was taken over by the Bolshevik Jews, and apparently they killed almost 100 million Christians and other good people, destroyed all the Christian churches, but not the Jewish temples. And they killed a lot of those people off during the Russian Revolution in 1917, which lasted well into 1927, 10 years or more. Killed a lot of those people by starvation. And remember that about the activities going on in the United States right now with the consolidation of stores, the grain reserves being diminished in the United States, food supplies. We all know that if there's a big storm, the supermarket is empty within a day or so. If they have a martial law event where they throw some nuke on some city or something and shut off all supplies, everybody from California to North Carolina will be starving. Those who do not have any stored up food supplies. That's the plan. In the earliest stages, it was determined that with only small forces available to them, it would be necessary to concentrate communist agents in the seminaries. So they figured instead of trying to destroy the church from the outside, they would destroy it from the inside. And it would take a long time when they inserted those infiltrated people who joined the church, 50 years, 60 years, to gain positions of power. And then they'll be ready to pull the trigger. The ultimate goal of communism and Nazism is the New World Order, global domination. So again, don't believe what I say, go look this stuff up. So, have they accomplished their goal? Back to my documents. We saw all those, in the earlier part of this video, all those sexual, gay agenda propaganda press releases. All intentional. I've been monitoring this for 10 years, and I see it on a day-to-day basis. And this is another category here. Church abuse scandal reaches Pope's brother. Church abuse scandal in Germany has reached the older brother of Pope Benedict XVI and are creeping even closer to the pontiff himself. Just weeks before he became Pope, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, wasn't he the man who was supplying the gas to the Germans during the war to gas people? Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger caused a stir when he denounced filth in the church and among priests, a condemnation taken as a reference to clerical sex abuse. Did they infiltrate the church? Let's see what these documents say. These crimes exist. This is a comment by one of the readers. These crimes exist in every corner where the church is. The church is only interested in preserving itself and its wealth. As far as the church is concerned, crimes against children are not worth any notice. Just keep the parishioners quiet and contributing to the collection basket every Sunday. A lot of people feel this way, sadly enough. And it says here, how about restating that, saying these crimes exist in every country, that it isn't a religious-specific issue, you moron. So the sexual perversion crimes aren't limited to these church people. We all know that. Look at that Franklin that book we went over. The Franklin cover-up. Sexual abuse and perversion and child trafficking and adult abductions and all that exist in the United States and the world. And I guess a lot over there in Saudi Arabia, these rich sheiks and stuff have harems of women they've abducted probably. So don't treat it like one. Treat them like any other child molester and pin them to the wall and throw these so-called priests in with the rest of the felons. That's my philosophy. If these priests did that, arrest them and throw them in prison where they belong. And quit promoting your stupid videos, so according to this person. So my point is, again, doing this New World Order media and press release video, I'm just trying to show there's all a premeditated activities going on, and the publications in the news are daily, and it does change the poll, the statistics of people who approve gay marriage and these activities a little bit at a time, because of the propaganda, which these evil people call the re-educating of the people. destroy Christianity and bring about the law of one, Aleister Crowley, the evilest man alive, who apparently was incommunicado with Hawass, and he drew a picture of this alien being, which looks like a gray alien. GOP dismisses military study on gays as biased. In 2010, some Republicans are dismissing a planned 9-month Pentagon study on gays in the military as biased because it assumes Congress will eventually repeal the 1993 law known as the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So they do these studies and get reports by people who are being paid. And not paid to dissent, by the way, but paid to agree, just like the global warming issue. All right, another document. Gay ex-officer to testify against military's ban. Riverside, California. If the military's don't ask, don't tell policy were lifted today, Mike Almy would not think twice about returning to the Air Force. So a lot of strong behind-the-scenes activity going on to change the minds of people. And don't forget, we went over all those New Age books, The Coming of the Christ, The Cosmic Serpent, The Seeker's Handbook, The Palladians. Federal gay marriage ban is ruled unconstitutional. So they got all these judges. Generally, they come from they're Masons and into this dark religion. So they do what they're told. Federal gay marriage ban is ruled unconstitutional. So these judges everywhere are taking it upon themselves to change our society, and one wonders where they're coming from. They're obviously not coming from the Christian religion position. Right? Keep that in mind. The federal law banning gay marriage is unconstitutional because it interferes with the right of a state to define the institution and therefore denies married gay couples some federal benefits, a federal judge ruled Thursday in Boston. This is July 2010. Now let's think about that a minute. The federal law banning gay marriage, so this is a federal judge doing this. A federal law banning gay marriage is unconstitutional because it interferes with the right of the state to define the institution. So he's banning the federal law banning gay marriage because it interferes with the right of the state. So a lot of states have decided to ban gay marriage, and recently the Supreme Court is saying the states can't do that. So they're saying it on both sides of their mouth. They're trying to not interfere with the state, then they override the state. They lie, they deceive, they'll pick any position they can to win, to change public opinion, away from God and toward the devil. I'm not trying to be religious here, but I'm Aleister Crowley, a well-known, popular person in the New Age movement, known as for his activities with children. Horrible. The Franklin cover-up, the banking scandal, and all the child trafficking rings. All the satanic stuff on the TV programming, football halftime shows, and the Grammys, the satanic or Kali-like rituals, Shiva dances, demonic beast. Pope blames church own sins for sex scandal. So obviously it's not all the priests and all the people in the church. Obviously. Pope implicated in U.S. sexual abuse scandal. So apparently this stuff makes Yahoo News. Here I am checking my email. And this is the topic I see highlighted to the right. So I open it and read it. These documents are old here. Pope sees sex scandal as test. Bishops urge reform. Remember, they testified before Congress, the communist people who confessed that they had infiltrated the church. In this communist movement, as Albert Pike said, the leader for the Freemasons, in 1880s, when he wrote the book Morals and Dogma, and sent a letter to his buddy Mazzini in Italy, that there would be required 3 world wars to bring the New World Order about, the New Age, which is a Luciferic religion, as he said. And even many Jews have said that their religion, their God is Lucifer. The New Age books here, Lucas Trust was formerly called Lucifer Publishing Company. There's a dark, sinister force behind all this. Pope has immunity in abuse trials, Vatican. This is just part of my research way back then. Pope's preacher. Abuse critique like anti-Semitism. Pope Benedict XVI's personal preacher. The Pope has a preacher? On Friday, likened accusations against the Pope and the Catholic Church in the sex abuse scandal to collective violence suffered by the Jews. So wait a minute, weren't the Jews evicted from 97 different countries in the past couple thousand years? Why? Didn't Rabbi Marvin Antelman say that the Reformed Jews had turned towards the dark side and were involved in the sexual deviancy, Sabbatin, Frankist, everything from Talmudic. Their Bible says they can have sex with babies under 3. So the Pope has a preacher, and he says that people, accusations against the Pope is like collective violence suffered by the Jews. Reaction from Jewish groups and victims of clerical sex abuse rage from skepticism to fury. Crazy stuff people say. Here's one. Hi, Bob. God sides with no one. A commenter's word here. I like that. Some things she sides with the righteous, but everyone knows she cares more for sinners. This guy's calling God a she, and she loves the sinners more. Here's one commenter who says, millions of husbands ignore their wives and don't foreplay with them like they should. These women come to this unique hookup spot to find someone to sneak off with during their lunch break from the office. So that would be an internet sex site. I don't even want to read this, but back in 2010, I printed out this evidence. There's a lot of this sex stuff gets pumped out there. I don't want to read it. Needless to say, people are offering sex on the internet everywhere. Scott Ritter charged in child sex sting. Philadelphia, longtime United Nations weapons inspector, who blamed a 2001 sex sting arrest on his criticism of the Iraq War, has again been charged with an online child sex case, and this time he was caught on camera. Scott Ritter, 48, of Del Mar, New York, obviously an idiot when you hear what he did, engaged in a sexually graphic online chat with an undercover police officer posing as a 15-year-old girl. Nearly a year ago, police in northeastern Pennsylvania said he then turned the webcam and masturbated on camera, they charged. What a moron. You would think people in positions of power would have more common sense than to be stupid. And sex with children is wrong. We are all sinners, all of us. We all have susceptible to temptations. But we have to learn how to say no. Whether it's drugs or drinking too much or adultery or whatever. The temptations are out there. We do not have to go along with them. People need to be teaching their children better. People need to be talking to each other. All right. Priest sex abuse linked to 13 suicides in Belgium. Hundreds of sex abuse victims have come forward in Belgium with harrowing accounts of molestation by Catholic church clergy that reportedly led to 13 suicide and affected children as young as 2, a special commission said Friday. In the beginning of this video, a little earlier, we had that one document about the communists infiltrating the churches to destroy the churches from the inside. So one has to wonder, and even if it wasn't some of those people, it doesn't matter whether you're in the church or not in the church, there are sick people everywhere. So I thought I would find another document out of curiosity, assuming that the information on the internet somewhat might be honest. So I typed in public opinion of same-sex marriage in the United States. I was checking for the statistics of public approval or disapproval. And I am reminded of my own personal activities. Driving from Florida to Maine in 2007 and 8, plus or minus, for several years. Listening to talk radio in the middle of the night. And I clearly remember back in 6 and 7, the talk radio show host would report the statistics and say 60-70% of the people are opposed to gay marriage. And the announcer would say to the audience, so I guess that subject is over. They'll never see the light of day. But I remembered when they introduced the lottery into Florida. And it was a public vote. And I suppose the people in charge of our world have learned their lesson. But anyways, the majority of the Floridians voted no to lottery tickets. Gambling in Florida. And I remember later on listening to another talk show, and one of the supporters for the lottery says, no worries. We just need to continue year after year and re-educate the Americans, the people of Florida. And slowly we will gain a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And then one day when we take another vote, it'll pass and we will have gambling in Florida. I distinctly remember that. So I know how the system works. So on this document, it's got links here. You can look this up, see for yourself. Don't believe me. I don't want to be faking anybody. You can look up that title on the top. And it's got same-sex union legislation, some links here. Same-sex union court cases, timeline of same-sex marriages, recognition of same-sex unions in Europe, recognition of same-sex unions in North America, recognition of same-sex unions in Oceania, Asia area, recognition of same-sex unions in South America, marriage privatization, divorce of same-sex couples, domestic partnerships, military policy, adoptions, and listings by country. A lot of stuff on this website. Public opinion in the United States shows majority support for the legal recognition of same-sex marriage. So this is 2015, but it has information going way back. The support has remained at above 50% consistently in opinion polls since 2010. So what was going on, as I just said, prior to 2010. I remember from 2000, forget 2010, but 10 years earlier, 2000 and earlier, with the kids' cartoons and TV movie programming and shows and all that, there was a concentrated propaganda campaign to promote positive public opinion for the gay agenda. And apparently it has everything to do with this new age coming of some cosmic Christ, an antichrist, a new religion, and the destruction of Christianity. I have the documentation here. I've showed it in this video. In August 2010, CNN poll became the first national poll to support major support for same-sex marriage. Like you can really trust CNN. Support for same-sex marriage generally correlates with younger age. They've been using the TV and mind control and the school systems. Even promoting homosexuality in the school systems. Gender bender. Boys come to school dressed as girls and girls come to school dressed as boys. Look up bender gender. You can't make this stuff up. Go look it up. Bender gender. So younger than 50. So apparently a lot of the older people are dying off. And the younger generation are more prone to what they have been taught. Well, who would have thunk that? The propaganda and lies and deception is working. So here we go. You ready for this? The polls. The statistics. 2015, 59% of Americans favor same-sex marriage. January, February, Human Rights Campaign, 37% oppose. Another one says 36% oppose. Another one has 40% oppose. 2015. We're going to go back 1 year at a time. 2014. It gets a little higher. Remember, we're talking about opposed. 39 opposed. 13 weren't sure. 41 opposed. So from 39 and 41, so 40 in 2014 opposed only to 37. So they're gaining 2 or 3% for the approval every year with their marketing campaign and all those press releases I've been showing in this video and more. And Gallup poll had 42 opposed in 2014. So more people were opposed in 2014 than there were in 2015. Around 40 to 36. 2013, go back another year. 48 opposed. Whoa, we're getting almost 50% opposed. 36 opposed. 40 opposed. These are different polls. Washington Post, ABC. 40 opposed. 39 opposed. 2013. You see how they do this? They relentless attack on the public. And they just basically wear out people. People give up on the argument, and they're discrediting the Pope and the Church at the same time, and promoting the New Age agenda with cartoons, and even adult animated cartoons that are just gruesome and insulting to our intelligence, in my opinion. Grown people watching some of that stuff every day is a little bit sad and sick. The way they portray us human beings is sad and sick. 2012, 46 do not support gay marriage, Gallup poll. CBS, 40% don't. ABC News, 47 opposed. All right, here, NBC, 40% opposed. ABC News, Washington Post poll, 39 opposed. 48 on the USA Today newspaper. Pew Research, 44. So we went from 44 to 47 to 36, 40. So we're losing a couple percentage points every year. Obviously, propaganda, re-education campaigns against the people of America coming out of the United Nations which if you look at the meditation room, is clearly occultic. Mystery School of Babylon. All right, 2011, we're going back further. 54% opposed. So 5 years it went from 54% opposed to 36% opposed. So the majority back in 2006 and 7, like I said, was at 60 and 70%. But they spent billions of dollars and all these press releases and all these writers and all these newspapers and all these magazines and TV shows like Ellen and everything else and movies and programming and everyone to gain a couple points every year. Gallup poll in 2011, 45 opposed. 2010, 46 opposed, 53%. Okay. Wow. What you can get done in 5 years with billions of dollars of propaganda on TV. 2009. 49 support, 46 opposition. 74% of Republicans opposed in 2009. 74% opposed in 2009. A USA Today Gallup poll in 2009, 57% of average citizen opposed. So 60% almost. So it just gets worse. 2008, 55% opposed. 58% opposed to same-sex marriage. So 60% almost 2008. So looking at that graph, there's little doubt that it went from 30 to 40% approval in 2008 to 60% approval in 2015. So taking our taxpayer dollars, running campaigns against us, has obviously changed the tide of thinking. Now remember, that's just on the same-sex issue. And let me show you a little more evidence. So that was 2010 documents I went over in this video. These are the 2009 documents here. (2014), all these same-sex material. And the run on the cover here is kind of creepy. We keep saying this is about Satanism. Well, they want to put up this statue in the Oklahoma State Capitol. You notice it's got that guy with the horns and children. So there's the devil with children, and he's androgynous. And in the Talmud, they can have sex with 3-year-old children, the Jewish Talmud. And they're promoting the Satanist religion, as we can clearly see with that statue and much more, the TV programming. the news on pedophilia, transvestites, transgenders, pansexuality, all the movie stars. Anyways, 2006, just going to show you the top one. I got a couple documents here. Gay Republicans find chill climate in Washington after sex scandal. So remember the Foley incident and all the stuff going on in Washington back in 2006 and 5 and 4 and 3 and before. These people were all pedophilias and sexual perverts and even caught in limousines with prostitutes and all that. The people running our country. So they had a chill climate, and there was a big problem with this. If they were into pedophilia, and someone could catch them on video camera, they were blackmailable. The communists, the evil people, the banksters, the Zionists, wanting all the money for the state of Israel. So they have to change the public's opinion about sex to a more open opinion, approval, of perverted sexual appetites, so that maybe these politicians can't be blackmailed because of the things they get caught doing. So they have a big campaign to normalize or public opinion for sexual perverted activities. 2008, lesbian kiss at Seattle ballpark stirs up gay-friendly town. So 2006, it would stir up a town. Billions of taxpayer dollars promoted on all this propaganda. And now more people are for gay marriage and perverted activities than ever before. And Christianity and Christmas and all these other things are being banned everywhere. The communists planned on invading the institutions and churches. Albert Pike and many others wrote books, Theodore Herschel, about the state of Israel. And the Israelis over there, the bad ones, hate Christianity. And one can understand a little bit why. In the Bible, where they're the ones who wanted Pontius Pilate to crucify Jesus. And when Pontius Pilate said, I don't want to do that. I don't want it on my head. Of course, all the Jews in the audience there said, let it be on our heads and our children's heads. And so for thousands of years, wherever these Jewish people went, generally speaking, they were run out of country after country. You can look up countries that the Jews were banned from. And apparently there's like 97 countries over the last couple thousand years. And in the Bible it says, I know who you are, you call yourself Jews, but are not, Revelation 9. And plenty of books written about the Khazars. I have the books, we've looked at them, we'll look at them again. So what is this gay agenda? Beware of the Rainbow, Constance Kumbi, all these books with the Palladians and all the aliens who are apparently androgynous, the same as this devil guy, the reptilian, Lucifer, androgynous. So there's more here than meets the eye, is my opinion. I personally don't hate gay people. I am not happy with the billions spent by the Pentagon introducing these different liberal sexual viewpoints to children in school, including homosexuality, and taking away the rights of parents not to be able to teach their children their standard of morality. I'm not happy with a lot of parents who do become drunks and into drugs and into sexual abuse when they have children, or if they don't have children, and not being responsible adults. People do not need to be giving into their temptations. We all have temptations. You can be at a party and have a beer. You have to drive home and you can say, no, I don't need to have another beer. Or I don't have to have any beer. I'm driving today. Or business dealings, you can choose to be honest. And when it comes to telling the truth, people don't have to lie. Temptations come in many forms. But like it says in that book about reincarnation and all that, this is a short life. Eternity is a long time. You get one chance to stand up and speak the truth in this life. And it certainly would be regrettable for a lot of people who wind up after they die before God, if there is a God, and I believe there is. And he goes, didn't you know any better? And what are you going to say? You were stupid? What are people going to say? I know people probably watching this video are probably more enlightened and in tune with the truth. I'm not preaching any brand of religion. I'm not happy with the Catholic Church. I believe that Jesus was on earth. I believe that the Jewish leaders of the church back then and the institutions were jealous. I believe that they had Pontius Pilate kill him. I believe they put him in a cave, and I believe he rose again. How many people did even Jesus raise from the dead? He raised Lazarus from the dead. All these books I have on psychic research. There's more to this reality than meets the eye, as I keep saying. But we all have to decide what's right and wrong, and I think adultery's wrong. I think if your friend's out of town working, you shouldn't be over there trying to be in bed with his wife, or if you're a female with her husband, or if it's same-sex, you shouldn't be doing that. And we all have particular different types of weaknesses. And it's, we need to stand up to those weaknesses and deny them. Eternity's a long time. So what we do in this short period while we're on earth is probably important. I've certainly made plenty of mistakes in my life. I think everybody has. None of us are saints. I guess the only one was apparently Jesus. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting. There is a donation button in the comment section. Donate some money for my contribution to keep doing these videos and material, and maybe I could have enough money to go out there and do some public speaking or something. Organize an event that all of us could get together in a particular city and talk about stuff. Rick Miracle reporting.